Welcome to the outrageously popular Christian Theologist channel, where reason and sound exegesis are used to highlight faulty doctrine and practice in the contemporary English-speaking church. The title of this video is The Devil of the Details. The initial idea I had for this video was to juxtapose the actual scriptural Satan with the popular mischaracterizations of him that many Christians hold today. Then I ran across Bible Scribe's recent 6-video series of this very topic.
But the series obviously is about Satan and the identity of the one called Satan and all that that means.
While watching his series, I was struck by two things. One, how earnest, hard-working, and dedicated Bible Scribe is to the task of mining the truth from Scripture. And two, how quickly all his admirable efforts were rendered futile because of an ill-informed method of biblical interpretation. I then decided to deconstruct the poor interpretive or exegetical method Bible Scribe uses in his Who is Satan study in order to demonstrate that even an earnest, hardworking, and dedicated Bible teacher will reach false conclusions if he is unaware of the basics of biblical interpretation. Okay, let's get started.
If you do not know your enemy, then you are doomed to lose your battle with him.
I've isolated two primary deficiencies in Bible Scribe's method that plague him throughout his series. These are use of the original languages and use of his sources. It was clear from how he conducts his word studies that Bible Scribe has little to no understanding of Hebrew, Aramaic, or Greek. He also shows no understanding as to how these languages operate grammatically, how they differ from one another, or how they relate historically to one another in the context of biblical studies. This means that not only can't he do proper language exegesis himself, but that he is unable to judge the merits of the language exegesis in his sources.
And in fact, the word mastema, from what I have read, also means adversary. So it's interesting that it's a synonym of Satan, ha-satan in Hebrew, but means the same thing. It's all the same.
Now, with regard to his use of sources, Bible Scribe does not prioritize the text of the Bible over other ancient writings, such as the non-canonical Jubilees.
The last point here, everything that the Bible credits to Satan in the book of Jubilees gets credited to mastema. So that to me is a super clue that, definitely is a representation of Satan, that mastema is a name that Satan shares, and that the book of Jubilees simply uses that name as opposed to the Satan.
Bible Scribe does this because he believes that it's okay to fill in gaps in the biblical narratives with details from extra-biblical narratives, and he seems completely unaware that he's committing a disastrous false equivalence.
The Bible sometimes summarizes or makes small mentions of things because it assumes knowledge that is other places, and this is one of those places. So sometimes in the Bible, people will spend years and years studying certain sections of the Bible, but because they never find the sources for where that information came from, they don't have a full understanding. They just go in circles on a epithet, a small thing referring to something much bigger. And so don't let yourself get in that trap. Read the Bible through. Get as much knowledge as you can by rereading portions of Scripture again and again. And then also read other sources to see if you can find out the background information behind what the Bible is saying. Sometimes it will flesh it out in a way you didn't expect, like exactly what we're going through in these videos.
Time and again, in his quest to discovering the Satan of Scripture, Bible Scribe's uncritical acceptance of any ancient Jewish or Christian text and his lack of understanding of biblical languages produces uneven results, to say the least.
So now onto the etymology of the word Satan, the word history of the word. So it means adversary, and this is from the Hebrew. It means adversary, accuser, hindrance, or stumbling block. All the things we probably heard when people explain this word. In Hebrew, this is ha-satan, or the Satan, the adversary, and that is a reference you can see that used is in Job 1. I recommend using an interlinear, and you can do that on BibleHub.com if you need one.
To straighten this uneven word study out, let's look at the word Satan in one of the premier biblical Hebrew lexicons in use today, the Hebrew and Aramaic lexicon of the Old Testament, or, for short, the Halot. The Hebrew word Satan is a noun, which means adversary or opponent. With the definite article prefix, the word is now Hasatan, which is the Satan, the celestial figure near Yahweh in Zechariah 3:1, or in the book of Job, the member of the group of the Ben Elohim, that is, sons of Elohim, who comprise the heavenly court. Scholars are divided as to whether in this heavenly court context, the Satan is a title like the plaintiff or the prosecutor, or whether it is merely a description, that is, the opponent or the adversary. It is definitely not a personal name because, just as with English, Hebrew does not attach the definite article to proper names. In both English and Hebrew, no one is called the Joseph, the Mary, or the Jesus. Now, both of these languages will say the Baptist, but neither of them will say the John the Baptist, as you might find in Greek. And it definitely won't say the Satan, the Satan. This is why that third meaning says Satan as a personal name without the article. So what this means for any study of Satan in the Old Testament should be obvious. Everywhere you see Hasatan in the Old Testament, that is, the Satan, it is referring to a person who is the adversary, but not to a person who is named adversary. J.A. Thompson refers to this in his New American Commentary discussion on 1 Chronicles 21, verse 1. The figure of Satan appears clearly only in 3 passages in the Old Testament: Job 1:12, 2:6, and Zechariah 3:1-2. The word generally has the article and means the accuser. Here, that is, 1 Chronicles 21:1, it is without the article, Satan, suggesting that it was used as a proper name. So, the only time in the Old Testament where Satan is used as a proper name of a heavenly being is in 1 Chronicles 21:1. All the other times, like in Job and Zechariah, Satan is a description, or, as is more likely, a title of the prosecuting angel in the court of Elohim. This is crucial information to have if you're trying to outline an etymology of the biblical word Satan, while trying to paint a picture of the biblical character of Satan.
And in the New Testament, the name Satan, just so you know, even though a lot of Christians want to think that the word Satan is always just a generic adversary term, the name in the New Testament is used many times in a proper sense in the Greek. So just so you know, it's capitalized, it has all the markings of a proper name. And not only that, there's also reference through a lot of the early church fathers and the early Christian writings that was the same way. Satan being the name of an entity. Even though definitely throughout the Bible there are different cases where the word, especially in Hebrew, ha-satan, is used as a generic adversary term and not necessarily referencing the being that we might reference when we say the word Satan.
This is a jumble of confused almost rights and absurdly wrongs. Yes, Bible Scribe acknowledges the non-proper name use of Satan, but he says it occurs throughout the Bible, especially in the Hebrew, when he should have said only in the Hebrew. All the while, he's neglecting to delineate where the different uses can be found, and he's failing to acknowledge that the proper name is used only once in the entire Old Testament. And yes, he's sort of right. The Greek Satanas is the New Testament form of Satan. It's the Greek transliteration of the Hebrew proper name. But this isn't so because, as he put it, it's capitalized and has all the markings of a proper name. That's just an absurd statement. The original Bible manuscripts were all written in all caps. That's because Hebrew doesn't have a lowercase alphabet, and Greek didn't develop one until well into the 9th century AD. Capitalizing proper nouns is a very late English typographical convention. We know that Satanas is a proper name because we know how the concept of Satan had changed by the time the Hebrew Aramaic Middle East began to express itself in the common Greek of the intertestamental period. By this time, Satan had developed from the impersonal prosecutor in the court of God to the chief of a hostile kingdom, an absolute principle of evil. But this conceptual change was societal and is only hinted at in a handful of places in the Old Testament itself, starting with the single use of the proper name Satan in the chronicler's retelling of the event in the older original account of 2 Samuel 2, verse 141 and following. This substitution of Satan for Yahweh as the one who incited David to number Israel is a clear indication of a developing veneration for Yahweh and the resultant need to attribute his less salutary actions to that meddlesome intermediary to his right. This absolutizing of Satan over against God, as von Rad puts it in the TDNT, was fully realized in the post-canonical writings that Bible Scribe uses to fill in the narrative details missing from the Old Testament. It is where these expanded mischaracterizations of Satan are found. Caricatures like Mastema in Jubilees and Azazel in the Book of Enoch. Caricatures that Bible Scribe has unwittingly accepted as representative of the real Satan.
So that list is Satan, devil, Azazel, Mastema, Beliar or Belial, same word, different spelling, or Beelzebub. And so these terms, from the reading that we've done and the writings we've gone through, including the Bible, these are synonymous.
Earlier in this video, while Bible Scribe was talking about Mastema, I was showing on the screen that in the two occurrences of the Hebrew word Mastema, that it meant hostility, and it wasn't a synonym for Satan. So let's look at Azazel. Let's see, what does the Lexham Bible Dictionary tell us about Azazel? Unclear designation in Leviticus 16, verses 8, 10, and 26, related to the scapegoat ceremony on the Day of Atonement. Multiple theories exist regarding its meaning, which means they don't know what it means. Possible meanings. Studies on the meaning of Azazel tend to focus on textual and linguistic evidence. The relevant scholarly discussion has generated four primary options. Azazel could be the name of a demon, a location, an abstract noun, or a compound word. In some extra-biblical texts, Azazel appears to function possibly as an analog for Satan himself. Extra-biblical means not the Bible, outside the Bible, and an analog, possible analog, for Satan. Baker Encyclopedia of the Bible says Azazel, personal name of a being, most likely a demon, to which the scapegoat was sent. Many modern scholars adopt this interpretation. Some support is found in the non-canonical Book of Enoch, where Azazel appears as a ringleader of fallen angels who misleads mankind. Such a being would be an evil spirit to whom the sins of the people belong. Thus one goat is given to the Lord, the other to an evil being. Some have conjectured that that being was Satan himself. The final uneven etymology in Bible Scribe's Who is Satan series that I want to deconstruct is of the word devil.
So, searching for now the term the devil. We hear that term a lot. It's in the New Testament a little bit, and we've seen it there, but people use it all the time, and we're going to see kind of like where that might have come from. So the etymology of the word devil, it comes from seraph or seraphim in the Bible in Hebrew.
The Hebrew seraph has nothing whatsoever to do with the etymology of the English word devil. The English word devil comes from the Latin diabolos, which itself comes from Greek diabolos. Diabolos did not come from the Hebrew seraph. Its origins are purely Greek.
Then devil, diabolos, and diabolo are all a word meaning an accuser in Greek. And so, again, we have this word that is an attribute picture of the being that it's talking about. And so it's not uncommon. It's the same thing with the Satan, the adversary, which can be a general term, and devil is also used as a general term for demons or devils, unclean spirits, but also as a proper name for the accuser, the one. All right. The late Latin word is from ecclesiastical Greek, diabolos, which in Jewish and Christian use was the devil. It was Satan, and in general use meant accuser and slanderer.
According to the Little and Scott lexicon of ancient Greek, diabolos was an adjective that meant slanderous or backbiting. When it was used as a substantive noun, that is, to refer to a slanderous person, it meant simply slanderer. Diabolos became identified with the Old Testament Satan because it was the primary Greek word used to translate the Hebrew word Satan in what is commonly referred to as its Septuagint, or LXX for short. The Greek versions of the Hebrew scriptures had started being produced around 250 BC. Here we see the word highlighted in yellow in Job 1. So, the word diabolos, slanderer, became a synonym of the Hebrew Satan, accuser. Whether it was the translation that started the synonymizing or the synonymizing that gave rise to the translation is anybody's guess. But to get an insight into why the translators opted for a Greek word with no associations of divine judgment in their version of their scriptures that any literate pagan would be able to read, notice how they also avoided unpleasant scatological associations with their God by rendering the B'nai Elohim, sons of Elohim, into the less polytheistic sounding Iangali Titheu, that is, the angels of God. Sadly, Bible Scribe never refers to the Septuagint in his videos, presumably because he's unaware of its existence. He certainly seems unaware of its importance to biblical studies, in that it is the primary language usage guide between the theological Hebrew of the Old Testament and the theological Greek of the New Testament. So, what we have in the New Testament are two Greek proper names for Satan, the undeclinable, meaning grammatically unchangeable, transliteration Satan, or the declinable form Satanas, and Diabolos. But whether he is referred to as Satan or Diabolos, he is the same accusing angel of God's court found in the Old Testament, the one who works for God and must seek permission to test or harm his people. Notice in Luke 22:31-32 that Satan had to ask permission to sift all the disciples like wheat. By the way, that you in English is a translation of the plural pronoun in Greek, so meaning you all. Then notice that Jesus must have granted Satan permission to sift Peter at least, because he then says that he prayed that your, singular, faith may not fail. Unfortunately, Bible Scribe is unable to see how the basic character of Satan does not change from the Old Testament to the New Testament, all because he's unable to do the requisite language research or locate and access the more accurate resources. This would be fine, of course, if Bible Scribe were just another lay member of a congregation, but he isn't. He calls himself a Bible teacher and is clearly posting these videos in an effort to educate his viewers on the meaning of the Bible. So, what he concludes about Satan matters. And if what he concludes matters, then how soundly he arrived at his conclusions matters even more. I want to conclude this video about Satan with the concluding remarks of the very capable Bible scholar Dr. Peter Gentry of Southern Seminary about what unskilled interpreters are attempting to do when they use faulty exegesis and misuse extra-biblical sources about Satan.
This is a direct reference to the book of Enoch, which has a long genealogy of all the angels until you finally come down to Satan, and then they blame all the evil in the world on Satan. What they're trying to do is they're trying to blame chaos and death and evil in the world on angelic sin instead of blaming it on human sin. And the Bible clearly puts the blame on humans. Genesis 3 shows how sin came into the world. We live in a world that is troubled by chaos, by death, by evil, by sin, by selfishness, by all kinds of corruption. That came about because God made a covenant with the first humans, and they broke that covenant. They were fickle, they were disloyal, they were unfaithful, they cheated on God in the relationship, and they rebelled against him. And so when Jude quotes and refers to this material, he's showing that the sin is in the world because of human rebellion, not because of angelic sin.
Thanks for watching, and before you go, don't forget to hit the thumbs up, subscribe, and bell notification buttons. God bless.